Something I've been thinking about recently, that kind of came to my mind as I did my last video on uh, the uh, the the Buddha's words, and I kind of noticed the next reading is going to have something about the khandhas and things like that. So it kind of reminded me of this train of thought that I've had about karma, and and it's just something that I see as being so important in my own personal journey in Buddhism, is because a lot of people may get this idea, um, if they come from a Christian background, like a lot of Americans do, that and they come into Buddhism with this sin concept, and may even see it as, like slightly irrelevant to really consider deeply, to completely uproot the idea, because even though they know that, maybe on an intellectual level, like there is no actual sin concept, there's still, like I say, a good and a bad. Don't do this, and because if you do this, then you're going to be doomed to repeat and reincarnation over and over and over again. So there's, from Christianity, there's a don't do this, or God might send you to hell. Well, Buddhism, it's don't do this, and or you might be doomed to repeat. If you do the good things, then you're going to get to nirvana. So, different way of thinking about what could seem like the same concept. The problem is that sin concept can trap you in a certain mentality that actually prevents you from attaining nirvana. So, which seems contradictory almost. It seems counterintuitive. But the reality is the sin concept actually can trap you in that realm of thought, that continues your cycle of reincarnation. Only the truth or accurate view, right thought, can bring us into nirvana. And so it's like there's a right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood. And so we have to have an accurate view. It's not, it's we can't just, kind of throw it off to the side and think, it's no big deal. But the sin concept particularly, what happens is when you think about the karma aspect of things, if you hold to philosophically a sin concept, like this is good, this is bad, and let's say you've had many past lives, and your condition in this life is somehow, and this is where the karma comes in, is somehow tied to behaviors or things that I have done in past lives. So the immediate reaction to anybody who has a sin concept is going to be, if you really think it through, it's going to be a potentially negative reaction, because you're going to sit there, well, how does, all these horrible things that happened to me have to do with, things that I did? They can't judge me like that. This is not like, and they think, and you can see the sin concept by saying it's not my fault. It's like, it's not my fault that, this horrible thing happened to me. I'm not the cause of that, right? And the whole idea of there being a fault, it's like, well, the idea of there being a fault means you have a sin concept. You don't really have to bear the fault for it if you didn't have a sin concept to begin with, because there is no fault on anybody. And so when thinking about karma, people who come from a Christian background, or who have a sin concept, like this is bad, this is good, what happens is your mentality, of the whole karma is you sin, what comes around goes around, bad things will happen to you. And this is sort of some sort of magical concept, like you did this bad thing, and then somehow magically this really bad thing's going to come back and happen to you. And that's not karma at all, not in the Buddhist sense at least. Maybe in the Hindu sense, because there is karma in Hinduism as well. That I can't answer because I don't know a lot about the Hindu religion, so I don't want to say exactly what they believe. You'd have to ask a Hindu about that and really get into like the Vedas or whatever. But in the Buddhist sense, that is not what karma really is. Karma is all of my thoughts and my behaviors, and particularly those things that are very deeply rooted, like my attachments. And that's why attachments is one of the things we look at. The things that I am addicted to, the things that I seek out, that I need, or I feel like I need. I don't actually necessarily need them, but I feel like I need them. So like when you have like, like if you have an addiction to sexual intercourse, as an example, and you this sense of longing or needing to feel that sexual contact, even though it's not a need to survive. You could go your whole life without sexual contact. I mean, it's not going to kill you, but the desire for sexual contact can be much more intense than hunger for food. You could find it easier maybe to fast than you can to resist going your whole life without sexual contact. And so, in something like the sexual desire can become very, very intense, even though it's not necessarily for your biological functions. You could go your whole life without it and survive. Like I am repeating myself there. So, so the thing is these things, when we become attached to them and feel like we need them, and they become intense desires, like we cling to them, those things carry over with us from lifetime to next. And it's not like you did something wrong or you're evil and you sinned and you're dooming yourself. Like it's just. And when you understand that this is the karmic thing that happens with attachment, that these things continue. So let's say you die in this life over here, and you're reborn in this life over here. The things that you were attached to, you still crave those things on a deep, deep inner level. And so then, as your brain begins to operate, and you learn new things, and you learn how to speak and things like that, even though you don't have physical memories from your past life, on a very deep level, you start seeking out ways to express those desires. And so if you learn things differently in different language, different perceptions, different people around you, on a deep level, you're still seeking out those same types of desires, ways to release that types of pleasure that you enjoyed in your previous life. Well, what happens is and one of the things that kind of struck me and what made me think about this was, like traumatic experiences from a past life, how they can affect your current life. Let's say, for example, you were in a war zone. Let's say World War II. Maybe you were in Europe during World War II. You weren't even a soldier. And a German soldier came in and raped these, women over here, or, whatever happened. It's tragic that you had no part in. You didn't do anything wrong. Okay, and so this happened to you, somebody else, a horrible, thing that occurred, and somebody did it to you. You did not perpetrate it yourself, and there's a karmic result of that. It doesn't mean, and so that's one of the things. It's like you kind of got to get out of the idea of thinking, oh, sin, evil, you did bad, and this karma is going to come back around to you. That's not the way karma works. The way karma works is the things that stick to you from lifetime from one lifetime to the next. So in a past life, somebody did something very tragic to you. You did nothing wrong, but the trauma of that comes up. And then maybe it manifests itself in intense anxiety, being around people. Like, let's say you're around a bunch of people, and there's like a whole group of people around you, and you start having an anxiety attack because like you can't handle being around people, because maybe what the last time you were in a past life in a situation surrounded by lots of people, something really bad happened to you, and it causes an anxiety attack, and you don't even know where it's coming from, and it's from a past life. And it's haunting you even in this life. You did nothing wrong. It's not the karma that you perpetrated. It's somebody else's karma perpetrated on you. And so one of the things that we do in Buddhism isn't just like, okay, do the right thing and don't sin. That's why it's really important to get away from that sin concept, is because it's just about having a holistic view of the world around us and doing things and knowing how to handle not just suffering from a past life or a future life, but suffering that we acquire in this life. So if something tragic happens to me in this life, something that hurts, I'm abused. I didn't abuse the other person abused me. And that abuse or that negativity, let's say the person is verbally abusive, physically abusive, trying to, intimidate me, scare me, and things like that. And it works maybe for a little while. Or you're in a war zone where, you see people literally physically die. People that are close to you, people you love. You didn't kill them, somebody else killed them. And you're left with those scars. So one of the things Buddhism we want to do is to learn how to heal ourselves and to let go of the trauma, to heal from the trauma. And so that when we pass over into the next life, we're not carrying over a whole bunch of new baggage. We're not just accumulating more and more and more and more baggage, trying to get back because remember, suffering. We want to end suffering. But we can't control other people's actions. The Dalai Lama had to leave Tibet. He was exiled. And so that's something that could happen to anybody. And it's a very extreme example of something that could happen to anybody, because hopefully it doesn't happen to me or to anybody else in this life. But it could technically happen. It might be something that happens very seldom. But one of the things is like, how do I deal with it if it does happen? In Buddhism, first of all, we're living in the moment. So by living in the moment, that's a huge cure for a lot of it. But on the other hand, so you're not really worrying so much about what if it does happen to me, what am I going to do? You're trying to live your life in the moment, and that's one aspect of the cure. But it's also just, thinking about not that it's going to happen to me or could happen to me or being afraid of it, but the mentality it takes to really heal from trauma in general, even in the moment. Because I have past trauma, things that have happened to me, and I need to heal from that right now. So that is a part of the right now, is not dealing with stuff that has haunted me in the past. And so one of the things about the right thought is, you think about when somebody is let's say thinking a negative thought. Like, let's say you have a thought about a person who comes up and starts talking to you and says something you perceive as crazy, and it's like God, that person is really stupid if they really think that, and that's your thought. It's very natural to think, if somebody presents an idea that is foreign to what we perceive as logical, to have the immediate thought being, man, that person's stupid. And when you use like right thought is not like, oh, that's a sin, I shouldn't think that, I need to resist thinking that as if I could. Okay, it's looking at the roots of what is making me perceive somebody else as stupid to begin with, and really looking at my heart, because that right thought isn't going to happen until I have a right understanding. So as right understanding, and I perceive that this person is somebody who has suffered trauma and is bringing that trauma into the situation, and it has a whole different set of experiences, so that I can start to understand this person a little bit better, even though I may not agree with what they're saying. I may think it's the reality is 100% the opposite, a 180 degree from where they're at. Okay, I may have a completely different opinion, but I don't have to judge that person and call them stupid. And so part of cleaning out the thoughts isn't just resisting the thought. If I think somebody's stupid, I just thought they're stupid. I mean, I just have to see the reality that I'm not perfect, and I just, that person, I'm perceiving them as stupid. But also looking back and at the root of that thought, being aware of it, that, like, oh, yeah, I'm technically not supposed to think negative things like that about people. What can I do to really understand that person a little bit better, so that I don't think that about them? And once you get to the roots of those things and you have a different perspective on them, to where you genuinely don't think, oh, okay, they're stupid. No, it's just, a human being who's lived their life differently and has a different perspective than I do. And so that is, part of eliminating karma, because those deeply rooted thoughts that cause that sort of perspective to hate, or to say negative or think negative things about people, it's its own karma. Because once I pass from this life to the next life, I can't remember in my next life what I did in this life. I'm not going to remember in my next life all the things I did as Michelle. I'm not going to remember any of that, because this brain is going to deteriorate and go into the earth. But my subtle self, let's call it, has a sense of negativity that I'm bringing with me in my next life, and I could just continue growing in egotism and calling people stupid in my next life. Completely different people, people alive 50, 60, 70 years from now, maybe, depends on when I pass away. So completely different people, completely different situations, but that mentality kind of sticks with me. And so you see how, whether it's my fault or not my fault, or the sin concept doesn't produce that sort of cleansing effect that I need, because I can't just sit there and think, okay, well, I had a negative thought, so in the sin concept, you'd just be like, oh, I don't want to sin, so I can't have a thought like that, and the thought's coming, oh, I got to fight against it. You don't want to be like that, just sitting there resisting. Like, I mean, if you had the thought, you had the thought. I mean, you can't really change the fact that you have that. But what you can do is look at it and say, this is a reflection of something inside of me. I need to take a look at that. How can I have a better perception? And so we look at things in Buddhism in an accurate way, in order to try to discover the roots of things and understand them. So when you sit there and think, okay, well, if somebody's stupid, they're stupid. That's the reality, right? Well, that's actually not the reality, because stupid or intelligent is based on, you have to have, well, what's the average? And then it's like, well, this person is more intelligent than the average. This person is less intelligent than the average. But that's based on human beings. You could literally sit there and say, well, dogs are stupid compared to people, right? Well, it's like, no, dogs aren't stupid. They're very intelligent. Well, then everybody's a genius, right? If dogs are intelligent, then people are even more intelligent, right? So it depends, like, in relation to what? Anything with a brain. They may not use their brain very efficiently, but anything with a brain has a certain level of intelligence. It's just like, cold is the absence of heat. So so calling somebody stupid is not necessarily a reality, even though you may think it is. It's like it just simply means they believe the opposite that you believe. So that negativity is in itself a disease inside that needs to be looked at and think, it's actually a reflection of me, something bad inside of me that I need to take a look at and improve upon. When your perception is cured, the thoughts cure themselves.